Hello all and welcome to TVM Academy. This is VARC 100, a free practice course for CAT verbal section. RC number 49 of the series. These RCs are shared on our Telegram group in the PDF form. They are also uploaded as tests on our portal. The links are available in the description box of this video. RC number 49, let's begin. So in the first paragraph, author says that it is a common assumption that mechanization of work has a revolutionary effect on the lives of people. And he cites an example. Observers all agree that women's position in society changed because of mechanization of work. Okay. In the second paragraph, however, he says that historians now question this assumption. So it's a common assumption that mechanization has revolutionary effect on the lives of people, but historians now question this assumption. And they think that women's employment rates increased not because of technology, not because of mechanization, but because of their economic necessity and because of the emergence of a new class of jobs, separate class of jobs, clerical work, which was more suitable to women. It was thought that it was more suitable to women. Okay. And therefore, in the last paragraph, he concludes that though the nature of women's work has evolved, so they have moved from blue collar job to white collar job, managerial positions, the nature of their work has evolved over the years, but the working conditions, their working conditions have not changed fundamentally. Therefore, mechanization has had no revolutionary effect on their lives. Their position in society almost remains the same. In fact, mechanization might have even slowed any change in their position in society. So that is what the author says. Okay. So clearly, main idea of the passage or the primary purpose is to reject the assumption that mechanization has a revolutionary effect on the lives of people. Question 1, main idea. Option A, the effects of the mechanization of women's work have not borne out the frequently held assumption that new technology is inherently revolutionary. It has not borne out the assumption that new technology is inherently revolutionary. Correct answer. So this assumption has not been proven true in case of mechanization of women's work. Option A should be the correct answer. Recent studies have shown that mechanization revolutionizes a society's traditional values, opposite to what the passage says. It does not revolutionize. Okay. Mechanization has caused the nature of women's work to change since the Industrial Revolution. Could be correct because author says the nature of women's work has changed. Last paragraph. But that's not the main point. The main point of the passage is, though the nature of work has changed, their working conditions and their position in society has not changed. Therefore, this is a minor point. Could be factually correct, but it's a minor point of discussion, not the major point, the main idea of the passage. The mechanization of work creates whole new class of jobs. A generic answer choice. Generic means too general. The mechanization of work created a new class of jobs after Industrial Revolution, but does it always do so? Option D generalizes the whole idea. It creates a whole new class of job every time. No, nothing like that is mentioned. As a matter of fact, it's not even the main idea. The main idea is the common assumption that mechanization leads to a revolution is wrong. Okay. Can be inferred from the passage that before the Industrial Revolution, the majority of women's work was done in which of the following settings? Okay. Before the Industrial Revolution, please mind the timeline. Okay. Let's see. Second paragraph is our source. Historians, particularly those investigating the history of women, now seriously question this assumption of transforming power. They conclude that such dramatic technological innovations, such as the spinning jenny, sewing machine, typewriter, vacuum cleaner, have not resulted in equally dramatic social changes in women's economic position or in prevailing evaluation of women's work. the employment of young women in textile mills during the Industrial Revolution was largely an extension of an older pattern. So what was the older pattern? Our question is about before the Industrial Revolution. Textile mills they were employed during the Industrial Revolution. Okay. So it was just an extension of older pattern of employment of young single women as domestics, which means they were working from house. Okay. So probably the majority of women's work was done in household settings. Okay. In households, private households should be the correct answer, but let's see. Let's read further and be sure. It was not the change in office technology, but rather the separation of secretarial work, previously seen as an apprenticeship for beginning managers, from administrative work that in 1880s created a new class of dead-end jobs, thenceforth considered women's work. Okay, nothing, no information is revealed here. The increase in the numbers of married women employed outside the home in the 20th century had less to do with the mechanization of housework and an increase in leisure time than it did with their own economic necessity. And with the high marriage rates, that shrank the available pool of single women workers, previously the only women employers would hire. So the paragraph does not tell us more about the nature of, about the setting in which they worked prior to the Industrial Revolution. So only this is the source available to us. From this, we can conclude that prior to Industrial Revolution, they worked in private households only. Domestics is the word mentioned. And during the Industrial Revolution, they started getting employments in textile mills also, offices also, probably factories also. We don't know that during the Industrial Revolution, not prior. Can be inferred from the passage that the author would consider which of the following? Okay. An indication of fundamental alteration in the conditions of women's work. Which of the following would be considered by the author as a fundamental change, as a fundamental alteration in conditions of the women's work? Okay. Please understand. First, try to source the answer in the passage. Author says here, though women's work has changed considerably in the past 200 years, moving from the household, so that's another evidence, by the way, household, to the office or the factory. In 200 years, their nature of work has changed. They have moved from household to factories and offices. And they've also started getting white collar positions instead of blue collar work. Okay, that is true. Fundamentally, however, their conditions have not changed. They have changed little. Little means a negative word. So only slightly they have changed. So not changed much as before then. So their conditions, working conditions have not changed. What are the working conditions? After a colon, he explains what are the working conditions. The segregation of occupations by gender. So these are the conditions which have not changed. So if any of these conditions changes, then author would consider that change a fundamental change in working conditions of women. So these are our answers. One of these conditions has to change according to the author. Then he will agree that, okay, fundamental nature, fundamental conditions of women's work have changed. Okay. So he says right now they have not changed. All of them exist. What are the conditions that exist? Segregation of occupations by gender. So women are given different jobs, men are given different jobs. Lower pay for women as a group. Okay, lower pay. Jobs that require relatively low level of skill and offer women little opportunity for advancement. They all persist. So basically, women are employed in low level, low skill jobs also. These are the conditions. One of these has to change. Okay. Option A, statistics showing that the majority of women now occupy white collar positions. This author has already admitted. He has already admitted that, okay, the nature of their work has changed. Now they occupy white collar positions. Yes, but their conditions have not changed. So this is something that is not part of their working condition, but the nature of work that they are doing. And author has already agreed, yes, that the nature of work has evolved. So this author will not consider a fundamental change. A fundamental change has to come in the working conditions of women, the three conditions he has mentioned. Okay, so this is out. B, interviews with married men indicating that they are now doing some household tasks. How is that a fundamental alteration in women's condition? It's a fundamental alteration in men's condition. Now they are doing household tasks, right? That does not change women's condition. Okay. Surveys of the labor market documenting the recent creation of a new class of jobs in electronic sector in which women workers outnumber men 4-1. So what? Their number is more. So what? That again, a new class of jobs has been created in electronic sector. It's too particular. Again, it's too particular. It's particular to a particular. It is specific to be the correct answer. It is too specific to be the correct answer. Fundamental change in working condition has to come across all sectors and not in a particular sector. Electronic sector, there's a change. Doesn't matter. Also, number of women are more. Does not matter. They outnumber men 1-4. Does not matter. Are their working conditions better? We don't know that from option C. Okay. Census results show that working women's wages and salaries are on average as high as those of working men. Wow. If their salaries are as high as those of working men, then this condition has changed. The author pointed out lower pay for women as a group. So no more are women paid low. They don't have lower pay. This is a fundamental change, author would agree with. Okay. Option D is the answer. Passage states that before the 20th century, which of the following was true of many employers? Second paragraph, there was a sentence written. In the 20th century, there was an increase in the number of married women employed outside home. But it was just a result of, he says, a shrinking of the available pool of single women workers. More married women were hired by employers in the 20th century. But it was because the pool of single women had shrank. And he says previously, in many cases, this pool was the only women employers would hire, which means earlier, prior to 20th century, employers wanted to hire single women. That's our answer. Option A, they did not employ women in factories. We don't know that. They tended to employ single women rather than married women. Correct answer. Prior to 20th century, yes, that's written here, last line. They employed women in only those jobs that were related to women's traditional household work. We don't know that. They resisted technological innovations that would radically change women's role in the family. We don't know that. All three are alien ideas. The source only leads us to option B. Last question. Can we infer that author most probably believes which of the following to be true about those historians who study the history of women? All right. About the historians who study the history of women. Here, historians, particularly those investigating the history of women, now seriously question this assumption. So these historians who have investigated the history of women have questioned the assumption that mechanization had any revolutionary effect on their lives. Okay. Now, later, he also says, last paragraph, he says, recent historical investigation is referring to the, probably most likely, is referring to the same historical investigation. Recent historical investigation has led to a major revision of the notion that technology is always inherently revolutionary in its effect. So this notion has been revised, which means their work, these are the historians who have studied the history of women, their work has led to a correction in the common assumption that mechanization of work has a revolutionary effect on the lives of, on society or on the lives of people in general. So their specific work on women, their specific investigation of the history of women has led to a better understanding of a broader topic. What is the broader topic? That mechanization has or has not a revolutionary effect on society. That is what this leads us to. Their work provides insights which are important to those examining social phenomena affecting the lives of both sexes. Correct. Correct. Effects on society is what the last line says. So their work has led to a correction of the revision, a correction of the belief that mechanization has a revolutionary effect on society in general. So we're talking about both sexes here. Okay, so their work has provided insights important to those examining social phenomena affecting the lives of both sexes, affecting society in general. Okay, correct answer A. B. Their work can only be used cautiously by scholars in other disciplines. There's no such talk. Whether scholars in other disciplines can use their work or not, and whether they require caution if they want to use it. So, alien idea altogether. C. Because they concentrate only on the role of women, this part is correct. In the workplace, have they concentrated only on the role of women in the workplace? Probably not. They've also probably concentrated on the role of women in family, in households also. We don't know that, but okay, let's read it further. They draw more reliable conclusions than do other historians. Author has never compared the works of other historians with these historians who particularly study women. So this is again alien idea, not present in the passage. That such a comparison is not made. While highly interesting, their work has not had an impact on most historians' current assumption. Contradictory. Their work has had an impact on most historians' current assumptions. They have revised their assumption. Last line again. They have revised. Their work has led to a revision of common assumptions. So, of course, it has had an impact on their assumptions or on their notions. Option D is contradictory to what the passage says. All right, guys. So, this was an easy passage. I hope you enjoyed this. Keep watching. Keep sharing word about TVM Academy. Please like the video. It, helps us reach more students who are preparing and makes our time worth the while. Thank you very much. Until next time, bye-bye. Cheers to learning.